Hello there. Did you guys order a controversial video for the day? Austin from Derailed Coasters here, and as you can see from the title of the video, I'm going to go in depth on what I think the future of Six Flags Great Adventure holds. In this video, I'll be talking about what I think could potentially happen at the park within the next 5 years. Also, huge disclaimer, anything that I mention in this video isn't officially confirmed by the park, so if you guys get that gist from this video, then I sincerely apologize because that's not my intention. So, without further ado, what do I think is going to happen at Six Flags Great Adventure in the next 5 years? Let's start the video off by going over Great Adventure's rap sheet of roller coaster additions. This is going to be important because Great Adventure doesn't add a new roller coaster every year, and some people seem to get the impression that they should. And if that's you, you should probably stop. No offense. Because let's be realistic here. Any park chain is out of their mind if they think they can add a new roller coaster every year. Unless you're Energylandia, but we're not going to talk about that. Anyways, the point is, a roller coaster is a major financial investment. So, to stay within the realm of realism for this video, we're just going to assume that it's not possible for the park to add a new coaster every year. So let's talk about what they realistically need to have at the park. If you look at Great Adventure's lineup, their roller coaster lineup is pretty solid. They have a lot of good supporting coasters, lots of inverting coasters. They have intensity in all forms, but in my opinion, the two things that Great Adventure is really lacking in their roller coaster lineup is a family wooden coaster and a family launched coaster. Now, to give you my honest opinion, I don't think I'll ever see Great Adventure add another wooden coaster ever again. I'm completely aware that this is a really bold claim, but my claim is coming from how badly they neglected Rolling Thunder. Rumor has it that RMC actually evaluated Rolling Thunder and was considering it for the hybrid coaster conversion, or rather the actual name of the conversion, the Iron Horse treatment. Unfortunately, RMC deemed the ride to be too structurally unsound to be able to continue with that project, which it truly is a shame, because if we had a dueling RMC hybrid coaster by El Toro, that would actually just be amazing. But yeah, I don't see Great Adventure ever adding another wooden coaster. I highly doubt they want to be responsible for the maintenance of another one when they already have El Toro. And to be completely honest with you, I think El Toro needs some love this year. So Six Flags, if you're watching this, please, I am begging you, please retrack El Toro. So that knocks down the idea of a wooden coaster, but what about a family launch coaster? Some of you may want to throw the suggestion of a premier launch coaster out there, but keep in mind that Great Adventure had Batman and Robin the Chiller at one point in time, and that was a premier launch coaster. So to stay within the realm of realism, we're gonna assume that Six Flags won't work with Premier on something like that. And yes, while I'm very aware that there is a Skyrocket 2 clone at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, I personally really just do not see a premiere going at Great Adventure, especially with the long troubled history that Batman and Robin the Chiller had. So we've eliminated the idea of a wooden coaster and a family launch coaster. Just kidding, fam. A family launch coaster is still possible. But yeah, and might I add before I get razzed in the comments for this, I'm also aware that Magic Mountain has West Coast Racers. So realistically, what are our options here for a launch coaster? So here's my prediction, and this is absolutely gonna be a home run thing if it ever happens. Vekoma is absolutely on the rise in Europe right now with their new models, and I think some point in the future Vekoma is gonna release some sort of family launch coaster model. In fact, I'm pretty sure they actually are building one right now somewhere. I'm not really 100% confident on that, so if you guys know what I'm talking about, please correct me in the comments and let me know what it is. Anyways, dare I say Six Flags opts to work with Vekoma in the future. For those of you who don't know, SNS kind of owns Vekoma, or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know for sure, but what I do know for sure is Six Flags has a great relationship with SNS. But if Vekoma's success in Europe really takes off, Six Flags might look at that as something that could be really profitable to the chain. Now the real question is that likely in 5 years? Well, honestly, who knows? It all depends on how successful Vekoma becomes in the next 5 years within America. So at that point, it's wishful thinking. But realistically, that's just a prediction that I think could fill the current gap in their roller coaster lineup. Now let's talk about what I think is most likely to happen. The big question: will Great Adventure get a new roller coaster in the next 5 years? Let's look back at their addition history over the last 12 or 15 years. So in 2008, they added the Dark Knight coaster. In 2011, they added Green Lantern. In 2016, they added Joker. And Jersey Devil coaster was originally supposed to be a 2020 edition, but because of COVID-19, that obviously didn't happen. So their year gap for adding coasters seems to be around 3 to 5 years. So my answer to the question is yes, I think Great Adventure is going to get a new roller coaster in the next 5 years. So since I gave you my wishful thinking predictions, I'm going to give you my realistic prediction here. And to be quite honest with you, I think Great Adventure's next addition is going to be a B&M, or Bollinger and Mabillard. So here's a little fun fact for you guys. Great Adventure is the B&M capital of the world, with the most B&Ms in a single theme park at 5. But now you have to ask yourself, right? Six Flags has this new CEO who wants to reshape the entire structure of the company. And while in the past, Six Flags has relied on these gimmicky records, we have to consider whether or not they're still going to continue to do this with the new CEO. And personally, I believe they're going to continue to do so. So why is B&M a likely candidate? Well, adding a new B&M to the park would solidify them as the B&M capital of the world even further. And the other reason why I believe it's going to be a B&M is because Six Flags actually recently just started to work with them again. Prime example: Dr. Diabolical's Cliffhanger of Doom at Six Flags Fiesta, Texas, which by the way is the first dive coaster to be installed at a Six Flags park. Now I'm not exactly hinting that we're gonna get a dive coaster, okay? But Great Adventure is one of the biggest parks in the chain, so I'm gonna be cut and dry with you. I don't see us getting a small investment for our next roller coaster, but rather I see Six Flags putting more money into the park to make it an even better travel destination. We get a lot of people from out of state at this park, and I mean from New York and Pennsylvania primarily, but even Marylanders and people from all across the country. Now, by no means is a dive coaster a small investment. In fact, I think they're great people eaters. They have a lot of capacities, but to be completely honest with you, I don't think a dive coaster really makes sense at the park. Granted, it has a great gimmick to it with the holding drop, but honestly, I think Six Flags knows it as well as I do that it would just be another looper in the park. So, Austin, what are you insinuating here? Now, I told you I want to keep my realistic prediction in the realm of realism. Well, what I'm about to tell you, I believe, is in the realm of realism, surprisingly. Most coaster enthusiasts will shake their heads at me at this prediction, but I honestly think a giga coaster is on the table at Great Adventure. Call me crazy, yeah, Six Flags will never spend that kind of money. Well, this new CEO is kind of making me think otherwise. Sure, we already have Nitro and King Ka, two coasters that definitely define the skyline of the park with their insane height. But let's keep in mind, back in the day, Cedar Point was Great Adventure's biggest rival, and Cedar Point features a hypercoaster, a coaster over 200 feet tall, a giga coaster, which is a coaster that's over 300 feet tall, and a strata coaster, which is a coaster that's over 400 feet tall. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that Great Adventure is going to be looking to compete with Cedar Point again, because I don't see that happening, but I'm using Cedar Point as an example here, because Cedar Point is proof that you can have a hyper, a giga, and a strata in one park. And since Six Flags is working with B&M again, a B&M Giga Coaster is definitely on the table. In my opinion, a Giga Coaster dominating the skyline with King Ka and Nitro would be just one more intimidating roller coaster for the general public to look at and be like, yeah, no thank you, Chief. Just kidding though. The general public does ride King Ka and Nitro, and I believe they are great GP magnets, and I believe a Giga Coaster would fall in the same realm. This would give Great Adventure a capital investment that would withstand the test of time for many years to come. And I think a Giga Coaster would really put Great Adventure's lineup at the very top more than it already is. So enough said about this Giga Coaster. All I'm really trying to say is I think it's a very realistic possibility for the park. You can quote unquote call it a hot take if you want, but seriously, you really can't deny that the new CEO really wants to bring the money into these parks. And from the way he made his business model sound, it sounds like he wants to heavily invest in the parks and to turn that into an even bigger profit. A Giga Coaster could definitely be quite the gamble for the park, but I think it would pay off. So let's talk about other possibilities. Let's talk about possible ride removals. I'm gonna be pretty honest with you guys here. Even though they just rethemed Bizarro back to Medusa, I still don't think it's 100% safe from the chopping block. And here's why. One thing in my personal opinion that Six Flags has failed to acknowledge at Great Adventure is that Medusa is in a location that doesn't really have anything to support around it. And that's a huge problem too, because that part of the park is pretty dead. Medusa is jammed into a corner which probably has the longest walk from the entrance to the back of the park to get to, and it's also pretty secluded. So in my opinion, I don't think the general public is really making the effort to go ride it. You can retheme that ride as many times as you want. Heck, it's still a great ride today, but if you don't put something there to support the ride or bring life to that area of the park, then a retheme isn't really gonna pull more guests to your attraction. That area of the park needs a major update, and I, Derailed Coasters, am praying to the Six Flags gods that they do something to that part of the park. So Six Flags, once again, if you are listening, please do something with that area of the park. Overall, my general consensus of the additions that could come to Great Adventure in the next 5 years is we could see a lot of general improvements to the park. This year, the park looks to be in its best condition that it has been in years. There is a lot of new and really nice foliage at the park, new buildings, and it all looks so great. And I truly hope that Six Flags continues to bring the atmosphere of Great Adventure on the rise. As far as flat rides go, I don't really see us getting any more than one in the next 5 years, and that one flat ride could be a Zamperla Air Race or a Zamperla Endeavor. Other than that, the flat ride options are pretty limited. I also believe we could see a parking lot repavement in progress within the next 5 years, as well as some pathway repavement into the park itself. And lastly, I'm not going to rule out any new restaurants either, because the new CEO wants to improve the quality of food at all Six Flags parks. This year at Great Adventure, we saw the introduction of Fat Burger, and I have to admit, Fat Burger is probably my favorite place to eat in the park now. It is definitely an improvement to the food chain there. So yeah guys, there's my take on the next 5 years at Great Adventure. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you agree with me? Do you have your own predictions? I want to hear them. I would love to know if I'm the only crazy person or if there's actually people that believe that I could be onto something. Thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate all of your guys' support. I hope you guys have a fantastic day.